How are you doing? Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 6th of November 2019. And it's a bit quieter, a bit calmer here in Salford than it was about 12 hours ago when it was bedlam with the fireworks and the Guy Fawkes and the bonfire night and all the madness of that. Yeah, I want to clear up something. I'm no killjoy. I'm no authoritarian wannabe. I don't want to be telling people what to do. And fireworks have their place. But display fireworks, like mega fireworks, they don't have any place in housing estates. They just don't. You know, forget about the selfishness of being a dog owner and thinking about yourself. A lot of people are affected by these things. People, not just animals. And for them to be let off constantly for a 2 or 3 or 4 week period around this time of the year is untenable. It is. And it's, it's been a bone of contention for me for a long time, even before, even at times when we haven't had a dog in the house. But anyway, look, yeah. We've plugged in the Adaptil thing. I'm not advertising Adaptil. I don't know if it's going to work or not, and maybe we left it a bit late this year, but we'll see how it goes over the next couple of days, because generally these fireworks tend to continue for a week or so after bonfire night. Like I said, they have their place. They are great fun. They are spectacular. New Year's, of course, Chinese New Year's, other religious festival celebrations, and so on, but not for a month or 5 weeks in housing estates and in built-up areas. They're dangerous. They are an absolute public nuisance. And the people who use them night after night after night, well, for me, they're, I suppose, a perfect example, or a perfect demonstration, for me anyway, of the selfishness that we see in the century of the self. All right. So there you go. Right, we'll look at the front pages of the newspapers and we'll move on. Apparently, in the introduction to the radio show last night, I mentioned that Jeffrey Epstein was a very good journalist and that he was on the Richie Allen show in the past. Yeah, I was obviously speaking about Jeffrey Jackson, who was on the Richie Allen show last night and many other times. I suppose I'm reading about Epstein so much and speaking about him so much. It's just a little slip of the tongue there, yeah. Right, let's start with The Guardian. Good morning to everybody in the chat. Good morning, how you doing? I just happened upon a message from Emily, and I think it's the Emily who lives in Bournemouth and who came to Manchester last week to be with us at the Trigger Warning Meat Space event. And if it is you, Emily, good morning, I hope you're well. You obviously got back safe and sound to Bournemouth with Paul, right? I think it was Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, Emily wants a morale boost to see a little bit of my chest, but I'm not going to do it this morning. No, it's important that we reserve that for special occasions. Here you are. Right, look, let's have a look at The Guardian then. You know that the next few weeks of this paper review nonsense is, well, we're going to be seeing a lot of election stuff, right? Boris Johnson apparently gets or takes the short trip to see the Queen, constitutional monarchy and all of that, to tell the Queen that Parliament is now dissolved and therefore there are no MPs anymore. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Yeah, there are no MPs until December 13th. That's what it means. So Johnson is off to see the Queen. There's The Guardian, and there is a lot of coverage of this story. I took it on last. I might have gotten a bit excited in the radio monologue last night. I might have done. Mea culpa, mea culpa. Rees-Mogg condemned over remarks on Grenfell. Do you want to see what Jacob Rees-Mogg said? Do you want to see it for yourself? Let's make a bit of room there on screen. Here's Jacob Rees-Mogg in conversation with LBC Radio's Nick Ferrari yesterday morning. See for yourself if what Jacob Rees-Mogg said could be construed as provocative in any way or offensive or hurtful to the families of those who died in that horrible fire a couple of years ago. Here's Mogg with Nick Ferrari. Listen up.
There have been suggestions that in part the tragedy was caused by either racism or policies of class. Are these suggestions correct?
I don't think so. I think the tragedy came about because of the cladding leading to the fire racing up the building, and then was compounded by the stay put policy. And it seems to me that is the tragedy of it, that the more one's read over the weekend about the report and about the chances of people surviving, if you just ignore what you're told and leave, you are so much safer. And I think if either of us were in a fire, whatever the fire brigade said, we would leave the burning building. It just seems the common sense thing to do, and it is such a tragedy that didn't happen, but I don't think it's anything to do with race or class. And indeed,
yeah, I took it from The Guardian, thanks to The Guardian there. It is being claimed, and it is not being disputed by anybody, it is being claimed that Mogg suggested in those comments there that you heard there, that he has more common sense than, honestly, it is being claimed this morning on national media that Mogg was looking down his nose at the Grenfell residents and suggesting that he has more common sense, or that people with more common sense would have left that building and wouldn't have choked to death on the smoke or burned to death in the flames. He didn't say anything of the sort, Mogg. He couldn't have been any clearer, in my opinion. This is a man, regardless of what you think of him, and I don't think particularly highly of him, his class, his ilk, you know, the type of people he represents, you know. I don't know anything about him personally. Maybe that's a bit unfair. He's not my cup of tea. But he's got a very good command of the Queen's English, and was very clear in pointing out that since the weekend and the publication of the report, it's now apparent that you'd be better off ignoring the advice of the fire service and leaving. Indeed, the crux of that report was the fire service saying that if they had abandoned the stay put policy a little bit earlier, maybe so many people wouldn't have perished in the fire. That's in The Guardian. This is the essence of gaslighting. Mogg, or Rees-Mogg, is being gaslighted or gaslit because he is being beaten down from every angle, from every corner of the media. Maybe to the point where now he believes that he said something which he didn't say. The public is being gaslit because they are being told that what is clear as day in front of their face, well, they're not actually seeing that. That isn't true. You didn't see that. You didn't hear that. You, in fact, heard something else. And Mogg himself apologised, and a number of Conservative Party bigwigs this morning are apologising in the media. Yeah. Metro. Stormzy. Mogg has to quit. The rather inelegant Stormzy took to Twitter and tweeted 7 or 8 times a series of vitriolic posts swearing at Mogg, calling him a scumbag and all the rest of it. Not very elegant, Stormzy. I had a brief browse through the lyrics of this grime superstar yesterday. I was going to get into it in a monologue on the radio show last night, but maybe for the first time ever, maybe, I self-censored, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I just got fed up of it. And maybe it's too easy a target. Stormzy's lyrics, if you never heard of Stormzy, if you never knew anything about grime, but if you were to just read the sheets of lyrics, they read like they were written by... No, I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting into it. I don't fear abuse. I don't worry about being considered or called prejudicial or racist. I'm just not getting into it. Basically, in short, Stormzy's a fucking idiot. And I don't see the genius in his lyrics. I think his lyrics are pathetic. They really are. And it's the sort of nonsense you'd expect from a sixth former or a fifth former. Real crap. Even his tweets littered with illiteracy, I would have said. Maybe, but anyway. But yeah, this is the world we live in now. He should retire, he should resign, he should quit for expressing his opinion. An opinion that in no way was critical of the people who died. In no way. And in no way did it suggest that if they had been any brighter, they might still be alive. But there you are. Interesting. The I paper, Rees-Mogg grounded by the Tories, because there's been a suggestion this morning that Mogg, who's a very, very high profile politician, okay, very visible, very identifiable because of his eccentricity, apparent eccentricity anyway, and his kind of throwback persona, you know, this old fashioned type of English gent with the, you know, I suppose the quintessential stereotype of the old English gentleman, the dress, the command of the language, the use of words which we would find eccentric. And you would have imagined that the Conservative Party would use him a lot in sending him around the country in the campaign that we're going to be bored to death of in the next few days, let alone the next few weeks. But apparently, because of this faux pas, Mogg is going to be basically kept under wraps and not put out to the various constituencies. That's in the I paper. For doing what? For calling it as he saw it. The Telegraph. This is getting a lot of coverage this morning. The Daily Telegraph is a Conservative Party supporting newspaper. We know, Richie. I know you know. I'm just saying it for those who don't know. Okay? And Boris Johnson used to write for it. Indeed. Still does write for it. Still puts... you can still see opinion pieces by the Prime Minister in the Telegraph. And there is a lot of outrage today because in an article in the Telegraph today, Boris Johnson has compared Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party, to Stalin. A murderer. We can't have that. The tragedy of the modern Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn is that they detest the profit motive so viscerally they point their fingers at individuals with a relish and a vindictiveness not seen since Stalin persecuted the kulaks, 3 million of whom were allegedly murdered by Stalin. Am I being provocative saying allegedly? I'm not suggesting it didn't happen. I'm just saying I have a very different relationship with history these days than the one I had when I was in school. So much of what we were told in school to believe about so many aspects of history, we have found in recent years that so much of it was absolute bullspit. Balderdash. In honour of Jacob Rees-Mogg today, even though I don't like him, I'm going to use words that I imagine would be used by Jacob Rees-Mogg on a daily basis. So, balderdash. He loves a terminological inexactitude, doesn't he, Jacob? So that's in the Telegraph. Yeah, Johnson shouldn't be doing that. A lot of talk this morning about the toxicity of our debate and all of that. Listen, I'll say now and I'll say again and I'll say next week and I'll say next month. If you feel like saying something, your only barrier, the only filter should be incitement to violence. Don't incite violence. Anything else you feel like saying, don't worry about it. You say it. We can debate then and thereafter how you said it, what you said, the manner in which you said it, your motivation, your mood. But if you feel like saying something, just say it. Don't worry about putting it into words that may be acceptable to somebody else. Say what you fucking want. Just say it. Right? Right. Okay. That's the Telegraph. Financial Times, there's a bit of a row brewing. Sajid Javid, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, is pissed off because the Treasury, which analyses the spending plans of political parties pre-election is not going to publish its own opinion of Labour's spending plans. Okay? And it has chosen not to do that because of the proximity to the election, because the election is only a few weeks away. And Sajid Javid, the Chancellor, or the incumbent Chancellor, is absolutely cheesed off, saying that this is unprecedented. The Treasury findings and their opinions should be published. There you are. That's in the Financial Times. They're all a bunch of liars anyway, all of them. Every one of the political parties, their spending plans are based on lies. All of them. The Sun goes with God Save for Queen. This is a pretty non-story about the Queen. Her dresser, a Scouse woman called Angela, has become quite famous recently, has become, I suppose, well known. She's in the public eye. I think she's written a book, which was signed off by the Palace. She's been dressing the Queen for some time, the Scouse woman, and apparently the Queen won't be wearing fur. How very woke of the Queen. Lovely. Stormzy, huh? There's the Times. China tries to gag UK universities. This is a story that alleges the Chinese embassy in the UK is going after universities, pressurising universities to not to be so critical of the Chinese government. I don't know. It's in the Times anyway. I've got the story. I don't think I'll get into it. I think there it is. To curb criticism on British campuses of its regime by pressuring universities into limiting academic freedom. That's according to MPs. They're concerned that the battle for Chinese student fees and other investments shouldn't outweigh long-standing international standards of academic freedoms. Universities, of course, they do well out of Chinese students. Not above all other international students, but I suppose Chinese students, they make up a fairly healthy percentage of foreign students studying in the UK. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, there's a lot of things going on at universities with respect to free speech, which is fairly worrying. Yep. Ex-Labour ministers fear Corbyn is a threat to national security. That's in the Times as well. I mean, whatever I think of Jeremy Corbyn, and I've been very critical of the man, I am always honest. Jeremy Corbyn is no threat to national security. What Jeremy Corbyn might represent, I say might, and I use the term might advisedly, he might represent a threat to the military-industrial complex. Corbyn might represent a threat to those who want to continually start and also to fan the flames of multiple theatre wars around the world and in the Middle East. Maybe Corbyn represents a threat to those guys, maybe. Maybe he does. A man who's been a prominent member of the Stop the War movement in the UK for many, many, many years. A man who was vehemently opposed to the illegal invasion of Iraq, not only in 1991, but of course in 2003 as well. So maybe we should be a bit more circumspect when talking about Corbyn representing a threat to national security. They say he loves Hamas. He loves the UK's enemies. Well, I'm not sure he does love anybody, Corbyn, but he's certainly been an opponent, an ardent opponent of war for most of his life. Let's be honest about it, right? I know he's flip-flopped on everything else, so I know. You'd imagine... Nah, I won't go there because it doesn't really matter who gets in, really. Where did we stop there? Was it with the Times? It was. Let's go to the Daily Mail. Rail unions, Christmas misery for millions. The RMT union plans for strikes in December. And it's... you gotta love the Daily Mail. Corbyn's militant pals. Again, as if Corbyn has got anything to do with it. This is gutter journalism. Corbyn has got nothing to do with the proposed rail strike at Christmas. But we're in election season, so don't let the truth get in the way of a good attack. right? So this is the RMT and its plans to strike. This is about rail safety. You might know this, you might not, but if you're a news watcher, this story has been going on for years. The train operators, they want to get rid of the guards. And they want basically trains run by one person and one person only, the driver. And the unions are saying, well, this is not fucking safe, this. The guard should have the final say on the closing of the doors and of the train departing the station. Right? And they've proven this is unsafe if you take the guards away. But of course the train operators want to take the guards away. Of course they fucking do. They want to get rid of everybody. Eventually they want trains that are driverless. Right? So this has been going on for a long time. This has been going on since the days of Bob Crow, rest in peace. Bob Crow was a good man. The RMT says, look, this is not good. Sure, the only time they can do this is at Christmas. Right? Corbyn's militant pals, huh? What a shower of shit the Daily Mail is. Today anyway. Oh yeah. Poor Jazz, huh? Jazz has only just stopped shaking. Tried everything last night, put music on. Everything. Put a bit of music on. No, it wasn't Metallica or Iron Maiden. No, we put a bit of James Taylor. We put a bit of James Taylor on the turntable. And I had Jazz. She was sitting on the sofa with her head in my lap. Like this. I had a bit of James Taylor on. And I was singing along with James Taylor. I think that maybe that's the reason she was fucking shaking, maybe. In hindsight, maybe if I'd not sung along, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. Maybe she would have been able to hear James Taylor, maybe. So we had a bit of James Taylor's greatest hits on the old turntable. Yeah, there's something in the way she moves. Yeah. Fucking fireworks. The Star. Grinches ruin Christmas. Oh, Christ. The Royal Mail, not the Royal Mail, the RMT union bosses. The Rail and Maritime Transport. RMT, yeah. The Grinches. Once a trade unionist, always a trade. I will always be a trade unionist. I will be one till my dying days. Birth test revolution. This is a story that is very Orwellian. We might get into this later in the week on the show, or maybe next week. But there's a lot of talk about this new DNA breakthrough. That when kids are born, they'll be able to do a DNA test straight away. And that will help them fight against diseases in children going forward. But I'm very sceptical about these things. By the way, there's a bit of super chat stuff going on there. I'll read the comments out in a minute. Thank you very much. I'm sceptical. These tests to take the DNA of every child at birth might be, call me a cynic, dear viewer, but might be so that it becomes easier, I don't know, to maybe attack people in years to come, to attack people's immune systems and their central nervous systems. I know, it sounds mad even saying it now. It sounds very mad. It sounds very paranoid. It sounds like the men in the white coats might be outside the front door, knocking on the door. This big baldy gammon has gone mad. He thinks that we're taking children's DNA so that in years to come we can much easier attack people's health and their central nervous system. But I do believe that. I absolutely believe it. I make no apology for it. There you are. So, and there's Stormzy there, who's called Jacob Rees-Mogg a scumbag. The big Christmas TV ads have just begun, haven't they? Haven't they? The supermarkets spend millions on their advertisements every year. I watched a little bit of TV last night and I saw Walker's Crisps Christmas ad and Mariah Carey is in it. You don't really value your art, do you? Or your place in, I don't know, in the annals of musical folklore or musical history if you cheapen yourself to the point that you do a fucking ad for Walker's Crisps. Mariah Carey has got more money than you and me have had hot dinners. Tens of millions. What a bunch of whores these fucking people are. Not just her, Why would you demean yourself by doing an ad for Walkers? Do you get so greedy when you're like those people that you'll just do anything? If the check is large enough, you'll just do it. Fuck it, I'll do it, you know? God love Bruce the Boss Springsteen, the boss, has never advertised a product in his fucking life. Never. You too. Hate Bono, though you might, and you have very good reason to hate Bono. Never allowed. They were offered millions by Coca-Cola back in 1992. I remember the story well. Millions. They offered him a bigger check than Michael Jackson got for Pepsi. Millions. And U2 said no. And in 1992, they were nowhere near as wealthy. In fact, they were just starting to make serious money. They didn't make any money on the Joshua Tree because they fucking blew it all on the Joshua Tree tour. They didn't make any money on Octung Baby because they blew it all on the Zoo TV tour. They really didn't have a lot of money. And Coca-Cola came along and said, you see that song Even Better Than the Real Thing, which is an absolutely amazing song, right? U2 said, yeah. And Coca-Cola said, we'll give you 5 million quid each or something like that if we can use it and you in an ad for Coca-Cola. And U2 told him to fuck off. Whatever about Bono being, you know, a puppet now for the Clintons and Bill Gates. Yes, he is, and I've talked about that. But they said no. So what is it with Mariah Carey and people like that? Have some fucking pride, you know what I mean? Anyway. There you are now. I told him. There's the Express DNA tested births to save lives. And there's the fucking evil Queen, look. Yeah. Some people just can't smile and look like they're smiling. That's the Queen. Right, I'm going to read some comments. And then we'll look at one or two of the stories inside the papers. Okay, Dupree Dick says Bono still a wee prick. Martin said U2 did that thing with Soros. Whatever they might have done with Soros, they didn't advertise any products. They've not advertised commercial products ever in their history. Whatever we think about them, Martin. Sharon says they already have all of her DNA. They do it from birth with the heel prick test. When I came to the UK with my little one, that's the first thing they wanted her to have done, says Sharon. They want her DNA. For the reasons I gave, I believe. In my opinion. Good morning to everybody on the chat. Anne Gladman agrees with that. How you doing, Anne? Jennifer Garcia in Florida, population control, Richie. We'll come to population control in a minute because there are a number of stories in the paper today. Rebecca agrees with that as well. Does anybody disagree with me? It's nice to get some disagreement. We like a bit of disagreement. Hi to Chris Morella, and thanks for the super chat, Chris. He says, winter of discontent, here we come. Chris is old enough to remember that. Absolutely. We need trained guards for our safety, says Anne. Of course we do. Absolutely right. The union is right. Hi to Mark Richards. I saw that this morning, Mark. Kay Burley was due to interview James Cleverly this morning, the chairman of the Conservative Party, and he was going to answer the many questions this morning about the conduct of Boris Johnson, calling Corbyn or equating him with Stalin, Jacob Rees-Mogg and all the rest of it. But Sky claimed that James Cleverly refused to do the interview this morning, and apparently, as you were saying there, Mark, apparently that's not entirely true. I did record some of that and I will play it on the radio show later because it's quite funny. Hi to Mr. Sin. Thank you for the super chat donation, my friend. It's greatly appreciated. It really is. So there you go. Good morning, Jean Ann and Cleggan there in the west of Ireland. There wouldn't have been many fireworks there last night in the countryside. Richard says, rap is vile in all that form, all that negativity, violence and sexism in its pure form, but it's never challenged by the type of people like The Guardian. I'll tell you what, Richard, I'm not trying to curry favour with anybody, but I wouldn't agree with your characterisation of all rap. Some of the hip-hop that we first heard in the 1980s was brilliant. I'm very fond of people like Michael Franti and Chuck D and people like that, who very eloquently in their lyrics described their times and describe the challenges of their people and their communities. And I'm not just saying that to curry favour with anybody, because you know I don't do that. I'll say what I feel. A lot of hip-hop music and rap music was brilliant. Listen to Michael Franti's Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. Listen to Television, Drug of a Nation. It's one of the greatest poems I've ever heard or read in my life. It's magnificent. I just think everything has declined. Everything. Standards have declined in every aspect of our lives. Societally, in our music, in our books, in television, in film, everything has gone down. I really do believe that. I know that every generation says that, but I believe it does. And I think the lyrics of a fucking goon like Stormzy are not proof that rap has, gone to the dogs, as we say in Ireland, in the 21st century, but it is rubbish. Read some of these lyrics. He's got a song called Shut Up, which was a very, very big hit for him. It's crap. It says nothing. It's incoherent. It's childish. It's almost autistic in its repetition. I'm sorry. There you are. Put that in the fucking Daily Mail. I said it and I couldn't give a shit, to be honest. It's got nothing to do with race. It's just rubbish, in my opinion. Hi to Tanya Bauer. Hi, Tanya, in Oz. Late in the evening there in Oz. Lovely stuff. Right. And thanks to Liz McFall for the super chat. Thanks, Liz. Long time listener there. Okay. Alrighty. And to William Henderson, William says, I would ban the public sale of big fireworks. They're too dangerous, full stop. Get the dog a treat, brother. Do you know when they're that nervous, they won't even eat treats? That's the way it is, eh? And thanks to LUFC Leeds United for your donation as well, mate. That is lovely. I am thrilled with that today. Thank you so much. Okay. Right. Let's look at one or two of the stories inside, because it's 2 minutes past 10 and it's time to move on. This is 60 Minutes, I believe. And this is Virginia Roberts-Jeffrey. She's given an interview where she said quite clearly that Prince Andrew should go to jail. A lot of talk yesterday about the ABC reporter, whose name escapes me now, Anna something or other, is it? Who talked about the fact that 3 years ago she was ready to go with the Epstein story and that she was prevented from doing so, and that the palace was instrumental in preventing her network going with the story. Yeah. It's in the Mail today that Roberts is basically saying Andrew should be in prison. This won't go away. Very interesting. It's a new interview. It's going to air this weekend on 60 Minutes Australia. So we'll keep an eye out for that there. There she is. Yep. Some of you are bewildered as to why the UK media will not let this go. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for not doing the old narcissistic thing. I'm proud of you for asking questions. You're challenging your own long-held positions. Because you would think that the media is completely controlled in this country. I also think that, and I believe we can prove it. And yet you are bewildered. What is the media doing? Why is it constantly keeping this story in the news? Why is it going after? Why are the papers seemingly going after and niggling and needling and chipping away at Prince Andrew? And the truth shall set you free. So do you know what my truth is? I haven't a fucking clue. I don't know what's going on. I'd love to know. I've been around a long time. I've been a journalist a long time. I don't know why they keep doing this to Daily Mail. You can only conclude that they want Andrew. They want him. They want him interviewed under caution. It's never going to happen, I don't think. Like Virginia Roberts-Jeffrey says, I don't think it'll happen. But that's what it seems to me. It's what the Mail wants to happen. Right? Now, a number of you, including Mark there on the super chat, and a number of you have sent me emails predicting that something will happen to Prince Andrew. Jesus. I don't know. Look, anything is possible. What, that he goes on a trip somewhere and the plane comes down? I don't know. Listen, if it's up there, I'll give you the money. If it's up there, I'll give you the money myself, as Les Dennis used to say on Family Fortunes. I don't know. Wow. So that's Epstein, not going away. The Clintons, Donald Trump. Many famous money men and women, tech giant owners, philanthropists, actors, actresses, very, very wealthy people connected to Jeffrey Epstein. We'll have to wait and we'll have to see. We'll leave the Johnson-Stalin thing alone because we're rapidly running out of time there. This is interesting today, isn't it? I mean, this is one of those, well, tell us something we didn't know. This is everywhere. It's in the Mail, it's in the Times. This is the Times, obviously. MI5 has given informants permission to commit serious criminal offences, including murder and torture, a tribunal was told yesterday. The security service runs a policy under which agents recruited to inform on targets that threaten national security are authorised to take part in criminality. The Investigatory Powers Tribunal heard that while the policy was public knowledge, the limits of the criminal conduct allowed, if any, were kept secret. MI5, MI6, Mossad, FSB, the NSA, the CIA, they are in the business of murdering people every minute of every hour of every day. And most of the people they murder you've never heard of. We know that the intelligence services were allowing the extrajudicial, in fact not only allowing it, but enabling the murder of Republicans in Ireland for many, many, many years. This is not news to us. But it's in the newspapers today. It's very interesting. If you want to read it for free, go to dailymail.com or go to theguardian.com, because those are free. And when it comes to reading the papers, we like a bit of free, don't we? We like a bit of free. Yeah, tell us something we don't know, huh? We'll stay with the Mail for a minute, because a couple of interesting stories in the Mail today. Rochester, famous old English town. No free 24-hour-a-day cash machines. None in Rochester. None. This is a problem now that is blighting the UK. Cash machines are being removed from towns and cities all over the country as we kind of rush headlong into what we've come to understand and call the Cashless Society. Yeah, very dangerous. Very good article in the Mail today about what it's meant in Rochester. But a company called ATM Network Link is seeing a chance for a business opportunity here and is going to try and redress this kind of imbalance where there are no cash machines. So it's a very interesting story in the Mail. If you want to find out about that company, which is planning to help towns that do not have a free cash machine, do read the article at the Daily Mail. But rather than that fix or that solution, what is of much greater interest to us, to you and me, is the actual figures about how quickly cash machines are disappearing all over the country. And not only cash machines, but bank branches disappearing all across the UK. And some very interesting stories here, as you can see in the article, about what that means for people when they go out and about and when they need cash. Bank branches are shutting, as you can see there, at a rate of 55 a month across the UK, taking cash machines with them. Jesus. More than 500 free-to-use ATMs closed across the southeast in the past year alone. That's according to Which. Now, you and I think, we're not stupid. We know that this is part of an agenda to basically eradicate cash, full stop, and to make everybody dependent on paying for things using that or going contactless. And what that means is, in any future financial meltdown, we will be in a very vulnerable place. We as in you and me as in people. because we saw it in Cyprus, didn't we? Bail-ins. You lived beyond your means. So we're going to have to pay back the money we owe. That's what governments say. When in fact governments borrow money from criminal central banks when they don't need to. Excessively borrow from banks that loan the money into existence. And then, I know, you've heard it all before. And then they get countries into debt. And then the countries are told they must pay back that debt. And then the governments turn to the people and say it's your fault. So in a cashless society, we are fucked. Fucked because they can say, well, you can't take your money out because there is no cash. And you are going to pay a certain amount of money per month, a new tax to help us pay back the banks. That is a guarantee. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is a guarantee. That is going to happen very soon in this country and on this continent. Believe me. I'm certainly not the first person to predict that, but it is going to happen. What else have we got? Climate change. 11,000 scientists. This is all over the evening news yesterday. Led by a guy called William Ripple. Great name. He's a professor at Oregon State University on the Pacific Coast. And they've set out, 11,000 scientists have basically agreed with this nonsense. They've set out a set of proposals as to how we can deal with the imminent catastrophe that is climate change. Be afraid, be very afraid. It's mad, this. An alliance of 11,000 scientists. And of course, one of the things they've suggested is population control. Here are some of the steps proposed to help us to tackle climate change. Stabilise global human population. This is bullshit, of course. Fertility rates are on the decline anyway, for reasons that I won't get into here because we've gotten into it on the radio show in the very recent past. Climate change. That's in the Mail today. Did you see this in RT? Did you? Amsterdam, or just outside Amsterdam, they've unveiled the first transgender crosswalk. A crosswalk just for transgenders to walk across. Almere is the name of the town. And it opened its tricolour pedestrian walkway in a show of support for transgender people. That'll show you we love you. We'll make a transgender crossing for you. All the very best with that one. There it is. Everybody's delighted, but they're not, including a lot of trans people who are kind of annoyed by it, to be fair to them. And they're saying, what the fuck is going on? As a trans woman, I find this pointless and unnecessary. Is there also a hetero crosswalk or a gender-neutral crosswalk? Said one trans woman. It's basket case stuff, isn't it? Basket case. Mad. Jesus Christ. Get off. And finally for now... Is there a finally for now? Do I even have one? Yeah, in the Mail again. University College London students demand the removal of Black Watch officer statue because of the links to racially prejudiced colonial rule policies. UCL students want removal of this statue. Phineas, I can't see it. My glasses are terrible. I need reading glasses. What is it? Phineas McClean was brought to the university in 1900 to celebrate the victory over the Boers. But can't have it. Snowflake students, they don't want it there. It's a horrible reminder of our colonial past. Therefore, it must be taken away. Because if it isn't, we'll be very uncomfortable. We won't feel very well. We'll be depressed. It might give us mental health issues. So take away the statue. I mean, the statue is harmless, isn't it? Who gives a fuck when the statue was brought to the university, and who gives a rat's arse why it was brought to the statue? The fact is, it's over. Well, it's not over. It's nearly 100 years old. It is over 100 years old. It is. It's 119 years old. Mad. Fucking mad. Right. Thanks for your comments there today. I really appreciate that. I'm back with you tonight on the Richie Allen Radio Show, and I've got a very interesting guest for you. In fact, I've got a very interesting show, full stop. But I'm going to be speaking to a gentleman who went to work for Shell Oil in Syria in the year 2000. And what he experienced there and what he was subjected to there through working there had a profound effect on his health and on the health of his family. And it's an amazing story that must be told. And I was introduced to it by Francis Leader, who's been on the radio show many times. You do not want to miss this tonight on the Richie Allen Radio Show. That's at 5 o'clock UK time, of course, on the usual channels. That's richieallen.co.uk, Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, Trigger Warning TV. Yes. And the gentleman I'll be speaking to, his name is Keith MacDonald. You don't want to miss that, okay? And I'll have much more besides in what I hope will be an interesting radio show for you later on. I'm off to feed dog if she will even eat. She's not nervous. And then to go for a wee run and then to get back to work. So have a good rest of your day. I love this picture. The Omen 5. The Omen 5, The Quickening. Right, that's it for me. Bye. See you later. Bye-bye.